Kia ora, and welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name's Sarah Watt.
I'm William Chen.
And I'm Jeremy Downing.
And each month at Cinema in Context, we discuss two films, one current and one retrospective, with some connection. Now, it could be the same director, the same actor, or a similar theme. Well, this month, we are discussing Megalopolis, which came out this year, and Metropolis, which came out 97 years ago.
Wow.
In the year 1927. The connection being super obvious. They both start with meh and end with polis. Now,
And there's other connections, right? I mean, there's the big cities, big lofty goals, potentially allegories, though I'm not sure what the allegory is for one of the movies.
Yeah. Look, there are heaps of connections to go through. So I have to admit, we chose the films on the basis of that slightly fatuous connection. But as ever, when you actually watch the two films side by side, my goodness, there's so much more. So who would like to give us the description of Megalopolis?
Let's go.
Let's go, William!
Francis Ford Coppola, one of the greatest directors of the 20th century, has had this idea buzzing around in his head for 40-odd years about a living city and the architect with the plans. So Megalopolis is finally the culmination of all these things, all these ideas and false starts, and it stars Adam Driver as Caesar Catalina, a mastermind and a visionary genius. He won the Nobel Prize, don't you know? Who, through a substance that he invented, or he discovered, called megalon, wants to create a living city in the heart of New Rome. A fictionalized, alternate future version of New York. And along the way, gosh, there are many trials and tribulations that befall his path.
And the audience.
Jeremy, thanks William for that, because we will get into the nitty-gritty. Jeremy, what the heck is going on with Metropolis from 1927?
So Metropolis is Fritz Lang's, I guess, probably his greatest film. He's got some other great films that sort of sift around, but Metropolis is one of his more influential pieces. It's a science fiction film, one of the grandparent science fiction films in cinema. It is an alternate world where there is the haves and the have-nots. You've got the rich people that live above in the tops of Metropolis and the working class that live below. They power the machines that make the city run. They also live in sort of squalor and these underground slums. And you have a young woman by the name of Maria who is almost like a voice for the people. And she is trying to teach them how to live their lives in the best ways that they can. She has a mantra that there is an opportunity to bring together the head and the hands, as it were, through some version of the heart. And kind of into this mix falls a young rich boy by the name of...
Feder.
Is it Feder?
It's Feder, isn't it?
Feder, yeah. That's right, yes, Feder. John Freder.
Joe's his father. Joe Fredersen is his...
Joe Fredersen. So
is his dad.
Is he Freda Fredersen?
No, he's just...
Yeah, he is Freda Fredersen.
Yeah.
Is he? Oh, okay, anyway, yeah.
He's the son of the son of Freda.
So he stumbles into one of her, I guess, seminars, her preaching sessions, and his life is completely changed, and he effectively falls in love. There's another side plot where there is a crazed scientist with motivations connected to Freda's father, and he ends up using Maria's body to create a likeness in a robot. It's very akin to C-3PO of Star Wars, and she kind of becomes the mechanical person that motivates a dissent amongst the city. It is silent film.
Yes.
Black
and white.
Black and white. It famously has had many sections lost over time that have been refound and refurbished. It is a masterpiece from 97 years ago.
It is indeed. Thank you, gentlemen. And look, readers, listeners, watchers, as I like to call you, bear in mind that we spoiler our discussions big time. We'll spoiler both these movies. So if you've, if you've not seen Metropolis, fair enough, but I highly recommend that you do see it if you're any sort of cinephile. But most definitely watch Megalopolis before listening to this. To get the most out of it, probably.
Well, I don't know. Like,
you think this might be a cautionary kind of...
Megalopolis, a cautionary tale.
Yeah, okay, fine. So maybe you don't have to... So let's just say then, if you're planning on watching Megalopolis, pause this, come back to us later.
Yeah, but I also think people with this episode... Because Metropolis, it's not like the story... Like, it's got some great beats, but it's not like the twists and turns of what you watch the film for. You watch it for the grandeur of this old film that's still... kind of holds up today.
Sure.
And then Megalopolis, I know a lot of people that have listened to podcasts that have had the whole story spoiled for them. I mean, I don't know really what there is to be spoiled. I agree.
But we're going to go there.
We're going to go there.
We're going to go all over both of these. Okay, so I think that one thing we really like to do is start with the when did you first see or in what situation, because, as you know, William loves to watch things on planes. But hopefully Megalopolis wasn't one of them, but we shall see. So yeah, hit me.
Metropolis? Should we start with Metropolis?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I didn't see it when it came out, guys, because I'm not that old this time.
I watched Metropolis for the first time, probably in my student years. And I would have watched I remember having a version of the film on DVD. It was a beautifully embossed cardboard slip over the DVD case. It was the most refurbished and complete version of the film.
So the 2.5 hours, not the 90 minutes.
Definitely not 90 minutes.
The restored version.
Yeah, but I don't know, was it 2.5 hours? It might have been somewhere in between there. And it still had a lot of things missing that I have since seen in the more recent version.
Interesting.
So I remember watching that movie and really falling in love with the sounds, with the visuals, with the kind of shifting between story, visions, memories that kind of get shown, the Babel stuff and the strange dance sequences and the way that images are kind of like all the eyeballs kind of being patched together.
Amazing.
Very Roman Polanski there.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's where we got it from.
Yeah. Actually, probably.
No, we'll get to this. We'll get to
and
this.
Citizen Kane. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of kind of cinematography.
No, what I mean is that's where Fritz Lang got it from. That's what I'm saying, because we'll get to this, but there's a lot of stuff in Metropolis that's like, wait a second.
Isn't that Tim Burton's Batman?
That's right. That's the Imperial March from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
So okay.
And so I just remember being really affected by the film. It's always been in my top sort of 50 films of all time list. And I actually studied this film with my Year 12 Media Studies class last year.
Good Lord.
And we watched the more recent version, which I'm not sure if you're aware, but they found a version of the film, I think in Argentina.
Yeah, they did.
Sitting in the back of some dusty cinema
in 2008.
room.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
the version I watched.
Yeah, so you can see the difference because they kind of come in. But I'd never seen it before until I watched it with my students, and I was so impressed at the extra things and to see the young working class guy that Freda kind of gives his outfit to, and he goes and he parties all night, and then seeing imagery that then is then repeated later on with the Maria dance sequence when Freda goes back to the club. I was like, there's some really cool stuff in here. And there was some other things around the henchmen that I'd never seen before that you'd only ever seen in the title cards. So obviously we dream of a day where we find the full 3-hour epic. But I think the version that we've got is, it's definitely the best version that I've ever seen. And I still love that film today.
William, when did you first see
I
Metropolis?
first saw Metropolis last night.
Hey!
Wow.
I've never seen this film.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because they don't usually show these movies on planes, which is frustrating.
Oh, gosh. You didn't watch it on a laptop, did you?
Well, I had to.
Oh, wow.
It's a film, you guys. It's a film. Especially just the visuals. I cannot think of any recent movies, at least ones that are so fully involved in their process like this, where you see, with silent films, you often have a lot of the tropes associated with them, right? The herky-jerky motions, everything's slightly sped up.
Yes, everyone looks like they're moving in a silly way on purpose, and yet it's the film. Yeah,
it's the film. That's right. But something about, again, what I watched was the most recent transfer. It really felt real in a way that was so present, and that really surprised me. Like, a lot of the stuff was shot in the 1920s, and something about the transfer process makes it look like it was shot today.
Yeah.
Really, this timeless quality, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I was reading about some of the methods they used or they employed to get the special effects just right. That whole thing with projecting live action actors on miniature sets. How do they do? Like,
Amazing.
it's like a magic trick.
It is
right?
visionary,
and it's
isn't it?
Seamless.
And when you think that film had been around for
30 years?
maybe 30 years at that point, isn't that extraordinary?
Just these leaps of technology.
And leaps, absolutely. And you mentioned the eyes, the shot of so brilliant with the face in the middle and then all the eyes, which is allegorical, and it's all these other things as well as being technically extraordinary.
Yeah.
And you always have to think, don't you? My gosh, this was made 97 years ago. Doesn't even matter if we've seen pastiches of it since then.
Like
very-
countless times.
That's right.
And very erotic, like in terms of censorship and things.
Yes.
Like, this is clearly at the time where Berlin is at its height
Yeah.
of the arts and
Jazz and nightclubs.
and it's kind of like there's this
And
daring...
dancing with tassels on your boobs.
Yeah,
I was really shocked.
Yeah, you
Not
would-
like as in morally shocked. I mean, I was
Imagine
shocked
if a
that it was a
film-
thing in 1927.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if a science fiction blockbuster came out today with that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You
there
would
would
get
be uproar. You know?
Yeah.
People on Reddit would be posting about this for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just this confidence that this is what the film is,
Yeah.
and that scene is incredible. That whole sequence is incredible. So I'm like,
And I think just it is a film of beauty. I think every single scene, even the scenes of people running around, pretty obviously like it's a stage corridor.
Sure.
Right? It's probably like timber and plaster behind it, but it's just lit and shot in a way
So
where
well.
everything is clear.
Yeah.
You can see people's faces even when they're far, far, far away,
Yeah.
and that's such a bad comparison to Megalopolis, where you have, so we try kind of pivoting a little bit, but I watched Megalopolis in the movies or by myself. No one else is going to watch it.
yeah,
I just sat there and say, well, I'm by myself.
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
But that film, just beyond anything else, is just murky and ugly visually.
Oh, I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, let's get to that when
Yeah,
we get to it.
yeah.
I just found it visually very, very bland and boring.
Sure.
Whereas this, it's almost 100 years gone.
Yeah.
And everything is still bright and vivid and moving. Just the visuals were moving.
The
I
lighting-
did not expect
The
that.
lighting is notable and extraordinary. And again, not to patronise the wonderful filmmakers of the burgeoning cinematic years, but certainly to acknowledge, holy mackerel, the stuff that they did back then, or that Fritz Lang did, is exemplary in every way. Look, I got to tell you, first time I saw Metropolis was only within the last 15 years, and I was really fortunate. I was given tickets to see it at the Auckland Town Hall, where it was screened with a live orchestra. And what a wonderful way to see it.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again last night on DVD, the proper version, the long, including the Buenos Aires discovered pieces, beautifully sort of stuck in there, still gritty and unremastered. And also with the intertitle cards that bring in the bit of plot summary that of the missing moments, So really fortunate that my first time was in that big grand sort of situation, because and I'm not here to argue with you fellas, but just saying, I agree 1,000,000% that I do feel there's something intoxicating about Metropolis. But I started watching it last night and I thought, my gosh, there are scenes here where, particularly because there's a lot of shot on you, shot on him, shot on you, shot on him, shot on you, shot on him. Then eventually an intertitle, which is never as long, is it, as all the mouthing that you've seen, all the words going. But anyway, and I thought, let me in that editing suite. I thought, well, knock some of this out, because it just sort of went on a bit. And then I still, despite myself, found myself intoxicated by the film, and therefore, luckily, so I don't sound like a Philistine, able to really appreciate the wonderful cinematic elements of it. I have to say, for me, one of the biggest things is most definitely the score.
Yes.
And how extraordinary to watch a film that doesn't have any dialogue at all. And when we do get to comparing it with the old Megalopolis, which is blah, 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 chat, 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 and score.
Yeah.
And I wrote in my review of Megalopolis this sort of grandiose score, which in and of itself wasn't bad. It was just completely wrong. It just would like boom away at completely unrelated moments in the film. For me,
Can I say about, I agree with you about the score in Metropolis, and there's so many beautiful moments, and I think about the kind of twinkling, the sort of screaming violins when the Machine Man is being made, and but I think about the kind of angelic sounds, and then the crash cut to the kind of gears and pistons of the machine, and the boom, boom, boom,
So
boom,
clever,
boom, boom,
right?
boom, boom.
Well, do you know what?
Just wonderful.
I actually did a little voice note of some of the aspects. If now's a good time, just to play the good old Deus Irae that's used in "It's a Wonderful Life." You know, the Deus Irae that's used in "A Wonderful Life." Many other films do. Right? Classic.
Yeah.
Classic, right? And so that motif, which does predate, that's one of the pieces of music, that's been around for like hundreds of years. So that does predate Metropolis. Can I just say, because it's queued up right here, and I mentioned it before, then you get a piece of music in this that, to my mind, John Williams might have heard and gone, oh, I like a bit of that for the old...
Here comes Darth Vader walking down the corridor.
Absolutely. And there is the motif of dun 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 dun, and then it changes a little bit for Metropolis. But how absolutely marvelous to watch this film and to go, oh, this is how seminal this film was, because these filmmakers, including Coppola with Megalopolis, have obviously gone, oh, I'll have a bit of that and a bit of that, and
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think about Megalopolis, and I didn't have great expectations going into it. I went with a friend of mine, and he turned to me at one point and said, "What the are we watching?" And I had to giggle, because it is a mess of a film. One of the things he said to me, because he's my colleague, he said to me a week later, he said, "Why was it a fable? What was it a fable of?" And I'm like, I think that's just put there to get away with doing whatever they want to do.
Well, you know, of course, a fable is usually a much more concise and obvious. Aesop's fables are much shorter stories that have a moral or a message. And Megalopolis's moral or message is allegedly that, we should all be kinder to one another, and we should leave the world for our family in a better state. That apparently is the moral.
And when we ask these questions, I can't do it, Adam. And when we ask these questions, when there's a dialogue about them, that basically is a utopia.
And
that's so preachy.
But I think the
so
reason
out
they
of
stuck
touch.
fable is because it's also crazy visually and characterfully and all that. And if he hadn't put that, people would, well, I think, be slamming it even more than they are. He actually, by his writing, explicitly at the beginning, a fable, I went, all right, okay, fine, I'm going to watch something that is definitely going to be stretching the bounds of realism. Maybe it's not all going to make sense to me. I have to accept that that's okay. Shire LaBeouf, is he super annoying, or is he playing a character? Well, it's a fable, so I'm going to err on the side of he's playing a character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about as well was that city is so unfunctional.
Let's talk about the actual city of Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So the whole film is based upon this dream of the city of the future.
Yeah.
And what they show us in the movie is that there's like awesome public transport, which cool. There's these bubble cars and these moving walkways, which I know other people have mentioned this online, but we have those already.
Yeah.
It's called airports.
Yeah.
And it's
Escalators.
like the travelators.
Travelators, that's it.
And if you guys have been to airports recently, a lot of people don't even use those probably. They just stand there.
I
and
know.
like, toot, toot, toot,
I
toot.
walk on them because I like that feeling of
Yeah,
moving
being
really
extra
fast.
fast.
I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm amazing.
So if this is supposed to change the world, then, or I guess a fable it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got all of these green spaces in a high density area. People need homes. Like, I don't really know where they're all going to fit. Like there's just the logic of it didn't make sense, and I also didn't know what this city was offering, like kind of weird kind of building gardens.
Building gardens, yeah. If it rains, there's like a little awning that goes.
But isn't that so? Just to quickly bring up a comparison, in Metropolis, there's the Miracle Gardens.
Up where all the rich ones run around.
That's right. This I've got here the scene of scantily clad beauties partying, which is also there are a lot of scantily clad beauties partying in Megalopolis.
Yeah.
So there's one of the obvious things. You talk though about the people being unhoused. And I think, isn't that because, I've got it written down, displacing the poor to make buildings for the rich?
Yeah,
so it
but
doesn't matter, Jeremy.
Isn't that what isn't that what happens at the end where everyone's displaced to make place for Megalopolis?
Yeah.
Because of the satellite. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it felt...
And there's so many plot points that get dropped. Like the satellite kind of doesn't... And then like... You know, like this is.
I love the way you're like.
And, do you know? Okay, so one of the biggest, most egregious things in this film, I thought, was the way that they treated Manuel, the character Julia.
Yeah.
She's the like lead with. In fact, she's even more of the lead at the start of the film. And the moment that her and Adam Driver get together and she gets pregnant, she disappears from this movie. And I'm like, what is going on with this film? This is so, and the whole kind of muse concept. It felt very icky. I did not enjoy that.
There's lots that's icky.
Yeah.
Can I... okay, I want to get into this because I was really, really jazzed for this film. Like,
Yeah, you were...
Jeremy, when you were like, you will not believe what is in this movie.
Yeah.
And you guys know me, like Cats 2019 is like magnum opus level for me, right?
Yeah.
I live for this stuff. And so I was genuinely excited to go see this.
But not because you thought it was going to be good.
No, I thought it was going to be a disaster.
Right, yes.
Again, like the Room, mwah.
Yeah.
Fateful Findings, mwah. And this just did not do it for me. I think, yeah, there's some crazy bits in it. Of course, there's the bit that's gone viral, yes,
Go back.
entitled me.
Oh my gosh.
Go back to the club.
Club.
Annoying, yes.
There was another scene where I think Julia is trailing Caesar to see what's this guy up to, and he through his Caesar vision he's looking after his wife and braiding her hair.
Yes, that's
and
right.
she sees him just doing this on an invisible bed, and she gasps and goes, He's still in love with her. And it was like that moment in Joker that I hate where you see like, it was just part of his imagination.
No,
and it was the goofiest thing.
But did you notice, because Doug didn't notice this, in that exact scene, because we get the shot, don't we, of him, and there is the real woman, because it's his lens, the real woman plaiting real hair. Then we get Julia's perspective of him plaiting nothing. But in the mirror that is right there to the left of him, you can actually see the wife on the bed.
Because the wife is within the megalon?
I don't know. That's science.
Actual question.
I don't know.
Is her soul trapped inside the megalon?
What?
Oh, okay. That's my understanding. Anyway, I guess to round up my point, just there are things... Oh, another thing that I enjoyed at the start of the film, because there are very few things I enjoyed about this movie, was when after the club scene, when he takes her to see his version of Megalopolis, and it looks like Doc Brown's model of Hill Valley from Back to the Future 1. It's just like, it's cardboard boxes, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Marty, I haven't had time to build it to scale.
Yeah.
And then she closes her eyes and sees the CG Wonderland, and it's just like, oh my god, this is...
I tell you what, with the dialogue, the dialogue is particularly awful through the whole film.
Yes.
But the one that really got me was when he goes and I think he buys a gun, and he goes up, and it's like this neon flashing gun. There's a woman standing in a little kiosk with guns all behind her, and then he goes, I need a gun. And then like hands money over. She hands him a gun. I'm like, that was completely superfluous dialogue.
Absolutely.
And I turned to my colleague and I was like, I wish this was a silent film.
Yeah.
Like, it would have worked much better. And then the other part that made him literally facepalm was when they're driving through the kind of poor area and there's like Lady Justice crumbling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very heavy-handed. It's interesting, though, William, that you say at the beginning you quite enjoyed ... because I went into this, I saw it in the IMAX, which is lovely.
With the bonus version with the live action.
Yeah, which is to be discussed, but is like completely pointless. So I saw it in the IMAX, and it was all big, and it was bombastic and bright. And actually, I do love, and I wrote in my review, chocolate brown, licorice black, golden hues. I do like all that stuff. I mean, that's about one of the only things I can say that I really liked about it, but I thought that was beautiful. However, beginning of the film, my godfathers, I was like, this is so annoying. I feel really cross and a bit frustrated by how annoying this film is. And including Shire LaBeouf, who I actually do quite like and have a lot of time for, despite all of his travail. But then I got inured to the annoying part, and I guess I sort of got into the swing of whatever the heck was going on. So I wound up doing a 3 stars on this because, to my mind, there was stuff that was terrific and stuff that was diabolical, and therefore the average of 1 and 5 is 3. Or technically,
yeah, because I really enjoyed the chariot sequence. And I enjoyed that party stuff. I had fun watching the Kubrickness of Adam Driver tripping out on drugs. I think, and then that instantly changed for me when the pop singer comes into the scene.
Yes.
And
you see, I love the pop singer scene. What am I? Like a big fan of Lana Del Rey or something, And I didn't realize she's a real person. She's a real person, that girl. Did you know that? She's
like
a real singer. Yeah, she's like a real person whose name I now forget. But I, for some reason, which is very unusual, was like, oh, I really love this. And I like the show of it. I like the music. I like the glitter. So, yeah, weird.
I think for me, that really highlighted something to me, which is the fact that, gosh, this movie's been in development for a long time.
Yeah.
Because that plot point felt like it was, written in 2001. It was like, remember Britney Spears, guys? Remember how gross that was?
Yeah.
Well, here it is again. Like, something about it just does not click for me. All these disparate pieces, and some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Again, the one thing that stood out for me through the entire thing, which I wholeheartedly can endorse, and I don't know if you guys will agree with this, it's Aubrey Plaza as well platinum.
You see, no.
Oh my god!
I agree.
She was like she was the only person who kind of, I guess, in my opinion, understood what the brief was. Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Knew exactly how to pitch the performance.
Yes.
And was ridiculous throughout. And if every other person had been at her level of energy, I guess Adam Driver kind of gets there in places, the club.
Yeah.
But like, Shia LaBeouf, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Nellie Emanuel, she's not a great actor, but she is sleepwalking through the entire thing.
Yeah, Natalie
with
Emanuel,
zero
and
energy.
she's Julia. I mean, she's like nice looking with terrible lines, and there's nothing you can do with that.
Giancarlo Esposito, who's one of the finest character actors of our generation, it's like someone told him just
turn up.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
And Lawrence Fishburne's just there.
Forget about
he's
it.
literally
And why do
just
we need
there.
voiceover?
And Dustin Hoffman's there, and then randomly
Forget about
dies
it.
halfway through the film.
And have we not learned that you do not use voiceover as a crutch?
Well, Sarah, it's not even that. It's voiceover while the guy's in
doing
scene.
doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not even voiceover that gives you a different perspective or an inner thought or anything. It's like
characters
and
don't
he
even-
walked
yeah.
across the room.
Yeah.
I saw that.
There's that scene where the voiceover from Larry Fishburne starts, and then the camera pans over, and Larry Fishburne's in the shot, and he's not talking.
I know,
It's
I
like,
saw
wait,
that.
what is happening? What is happening? You're breaking the laws of cinema.
I have to agree. I thought Aubrey Plaza was fantastic. I thought she was so dynamic on the screen, and she just carried that movie for me. She was the only thing that was kind of worth coming back to and being confident. She had to do some stupid stuff. Like that sex scene with Shia LaBeouf was so bad.
Yes, it was.
Or the
They
scene
made
in
it
the
work.
elevator, which is like, Catalina is mine.
May I just clarify? When I went, no, what I meant was to be, I didn't mean she was bad, but I did not buy for a second that I didn't like the scene where he's like, she's in the bed and he goes in and we know they're having an affair, because he was like in a different movie completely. That didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
So then when she goes off and marries John Voight, just go for it, because now you make sense. So that's kind of, I didn't think she was objectively bad. I just thought that did not work as
Her
an
character doesn't
idea.
work. I mean, I find this whole film
man.
a bit misogynistic towards the woman. And she's just this Terrible
And then,
archetype. She's a
but
great actor.
how she dies again, I have reserved my chef's kisses, but
I can't remember how she died.
John Voight pretends he's got an erection, and
Yeah.
it turns out to be a bow and arrow that
and
he
it's
reveals.
the world's tiniest bow and arrow, and he goes, "Foom,"
and it shoots her right in the chest.
and she collapses, and then he shoots Shia LaBeouf in the butt 2 times.
That's
Foom,
right.
foom. And
I'd
that's
forgotten
that.
that.
That's
yeah,
that.
and the whole plot sequence with Caesar being shot in the face and then his face being repealed.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
It's just, what is this movie doing? It's just got so many different things
It's got
happening
too
in
many,
lots
and you're
of different
so right about the
directions.
whole, I've been making this for 12 years or whatever it is, 12
40
years.
years.
40.
Right. You're so right. And that's why, unfortunately, it's a hodgepodge of ideas and concepts, some of which are now outdated, most of which are poorly executed.
And so preachy.
Yeah.
And like not really sharing anything of any relevant
Well, it's
consequence.
nothing new, is it?
No.
I mean, do we not know all this?
And it doesn't even work within the world of the film, let alone being relevant to our real world. Like that whole idea of Megalopolis being a utopia, like we said, like they've just displaced all these people for this one megalomaniac dude to build this terrible green space that's kind of ugly anyway, with moving water travelators.
And so that
They
a whole
move
lot of
really slow.
and so that a whole lot of unlikable rich people can have orgies and kind of drink champagne. I mean, there's nothing wrong with champagne. Actually, I'm a big fan of champagne. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did like the hair, though. I have to say, the women's hair I thought was a beautiful throwback to Grecian and Roman times. And I say, let's go there. And I did like all the togas. Actually, they're not called togas when there's that woman's dress. The ladies' type of dress in that era, the beautiful gold. I think they're quite modest. I think they're quite beautiful. I think we should all go back to strappy sandals, little curls, and those dresses. Other than that, not really inspired by anything. Although, my MVP, Talia Shire.
Oh, yeah.
Talia Shire from The Godfather, who plays, she's Connie, the sister in the Godfather movies, and she is, of course, France's sister in real life. I thought she was absolutely marvellous. She had a really small role as Catalina's really unkind mother.
Yeah.
But I thought she was brilliant.
My problem with that character is the resolution, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Right? She kind of does what a Mad Max does at the end of Fury Road, which is just like give a nod, like, yeah, my work here is done.
Yeah.
And walks off into the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was good.
She was,
I also, do you guys know Kathryn Hunter, who played Cicero's wife?
Oh, not really.
Yes, I love that actor.
Because she's
in Poor Things.
yeah.
She's the
She
madame.
is. She's. I know her mainly from Andor, playing the mother of the main antagonist, and she is just so good at playing these sharp-tongued women of power.
Right.
Kind of wasted here. I don't know.
I did appreciate watching her in a role that wasn't like quote unquote evil,
Yeah.
or dastardly. It was just nice to see her play a mother.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that. I'll tell you what, there was some key texts and filmmakers that I thought of through watching this film.
Yeah.
The first one is Southland Tales.
Heck yeah.
The Richard Kelly
Which I've not seen. But
follow-up to Donnie Darko. That is
Yeah.
a mess of ideas just
Okay.
like this.
So, Jeremy, just between you and me, which one do you prefer?
Southland Tales.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
quite like
I would
To what?
never
To Megalopolis?
To Megalopolis.
Oh, yeah,
I would
okay.
never have thought in 1,000 years
Yeah.
I'd say this. Better movie.
I read some really cool I actually quite like Southland Tales when I watched it. I've never gone back
okay.
and watched it. Anyways, there's an extended version as well that's quite good. The Wachowskis' work and probably their worst films is what came to mind.
Jupiter Ascending.
Yep, Jupiter Ascending and Cloud Atlas had to come to mind, but Cloud Atlas is a far better film than Megalopolis. Dark City, especially at the start, with the
okay.
pausing of the world. Obviously Metropolis, especially when they're up in the Chrysler building and there's Art Deco designs.
Beautiful, yeah.
I actually
All
thought,
those straight lines. That was really nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
I actually thought a lot about Ridley Scott's work for both
Yes.
better and worse. Visually some really interesting use of the mise-en-scène, but also not always cohesive, which I do find Ridley Scott can be.
And yet, of course, Metropolis is the one that evokes Blade Runner, not Megalopolis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Fellini's work, I actually thought a lot about
Yes,
in terms of
I
the
do
way
too.
he kind of created these little Nazis, and there was some. You could tell that Coppola was playing a lot with his actors,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
quite lovely, even if it didn't work all the time. And Attack of the Clones,
The digital
just
stuff?
all the digital stuff,
Yeah.
the second Star Wars film, and just the kind of cobbled together last minute made in the edit nature of that film.
See, when Catalina and Julia go up, I want to say onto the roof, and they sit on the girders, a little bit like that classic photograph, from New York's 30. It looked so green screeny to me.
Yeah.
And somebody said they found that really moving, that scene. I didn't at all.
I don't understand what happened. So he lost his powers.
But he just needed he needed to believe him in himself, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly she can stop time and la la. I mean, look, honestly, I'm really big on time. I love it. And I love Nolan. And I wanted... So you remember the first trailer for Megalopolis, which was obviously a massive teaser, because you just go, whoa, is it going to be amazing? It's going to be some trippy kind of time-related... It's not at all.
Yeah. No, that scene where he smashes the bottle and that's pretty cool.
But what is the purpose of him being able to stop time? It doesn't even come into the story.
Is it... Can he actually stop time, or is it just a metaphor?
Well, I mean, at the end, right... Julia stops time, and
baby.
the only person who keeps moving is the baby.
Oh,
Sunny day or whatever.
That's a terrible shot as well. This like floppy baby. I was laughing as the movie ended.
It was like a ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
Yeah. And like, okay, is it a metaphor or is he actually doing it? Either way, it doesn't affect the story because he doesn't actually, like, sure, the movie's telling us that something good's happening, but it hasn't earned that something good's happening. And also, what is it a metaphor for? He's better than everyone else?
Well, yeah.
Follow your dreams. So wait, I don't know. I feel like I'm a kid in my class, and I've gone, who can tell me what's the theme of this?
A
and
metaphor?
They're like, and they're just like,
Well, it's
dogs are nice?
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's think this through.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just Ayn Rand, right? It's the fountainhead. It's like, super objectivist. The savior will be better than everyone else, will know what to do to save the world, and he does. And that's the end of that.
Oh, that's so arrogant.
Does he save it for everyone?
No, just for a small block in New York City that had just been demolished.
So...
And also that whole sequence where they're on that... At the start, they're on that shaky scaffolding.
Oh, yeah.
That's so weird.
Interesting staging, but I don't quite understand why.
Yeah.
No.
And then Cicero's plan for the city is casinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, just blow the whole city up.
Now,
sorry, I was going to say, you brought up Fellini and how...
yes.
Those
parties felt very Fellini, didn't they? In terms of just like an orgiastic kind of like...
The weird off-kilter angles and all those weird close-ups of the mosaics and stuff. I felt like, obviously Francis Ford Coppola he's playing in the cinema space. He's kind of... he self-funded the whole thing.
And he's earned it.
I can do whatever I want. And he does. He tries a lot of new things. And there's a lot of callbacks to very, very classical cinema, more cinematic methods. That bit where it's all triptych and parts change and all that stuff. And it's visually... I'm not going to say interesting. At least it's doing something different.
Yeah.
But that really reminded me of what Marty was doing with Hugo. Do you guys remember Hugo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I quite like
I
that
only
film.
saw it the one time.
Okay.
I like that movie.
Which is, the whole movie is a throwback to Méliès and kind of to the earliest science fiction movies. And I just felt like, Hugo was a great movie. And it did it really well. And it was moving. And you made it, it made the audience understand the cinematic wonders that have built up to this. Whereas, I guess the conversation just keeps on going here. It's just really, really messy and there's no focus. And there are some scenes that look nice, but it never coheres. Ever. Which is a huge pity because the stuff is there on screen. Maybe just with a different edit or different special effects. Because you read that he fired the entire special effects team and then rehired a new special effects team to redo the thing. And
you kind of make a really good point. What might have made the difference? Now let's think about it. If you can only edit something better if you've got the coverage to cut with, right? I mean, you can chuck special effects on it, but you need more than that. You can't redo a performance. And look, I think Adam Driver's marvelous, and I think he's doing the best he can.
I think the performances are generally very good in this film.
Yeah, but they don't. But they don't cohere.
No, they're
that's
so
the
different.
problem. That's
the actor's problem.
No, that's exactly right. But that's not an editing issue. That's a direction issue, right? And that's what I mean. Talia Shire's terrific. Aubrey Plaza's doing something else. Dustin Hoffman's in a whole other movie. Esposito is not being exploited to his full worth. I think he's marvelous. as an actor. To me, Adam Driver can do no wrong, but he's in the wrong place at what can only be the wrong time, because it shouldn't have been made. Do you know what I mean?
The problem goes right back to the script.
Yes.
Like, people go to me, what is this film about? And I was like, And like, if you can't,
It's about the future, Jeremy. It's about the future.
if you can't explain what a film is about in one or two sentences, or even the premise, you've got problems.
Yes.
So, like, what is this movie about? Like,
I think it's about somebody who...
Not about themes or lessons.
I think it's about somebody who is following his dream to make a beautiful, sustainable, blah, blah city, and bureaucracy is trying to stop him from doing it. Because isn't there quite a lot of talk about doing what's in your heart and following your dream?
Yeah. So what you just described to me is such a boring film. I don't want to watch that. Is that a movie you want to watch?
Well, I'm too befuddled now by the movie I did watch to be able to make it.
You're going to watch a person that wants to make a beautiful city and is going to be tripped up by bureaucracy. It's like, that just sounds like my job. You know?
Right. I
love my job. Teaching's great. But like, you know what I mean? Like, bureaucracy gets in the way with our lives. I want to go to the cinema. It's like going to watch a Star Wars prequel and it's all like the taxation system.
But it's also
God forbid.
It's also nothing new, right? And look, I think to be fair to Metropolis, no, not to be fair to it, to be fair to other films, when we talk about Metropolis, we go, well, in those days, no one had done anything like it before. Even if now we might go, well, of course we should be upholding the rights of workers.
But that film, when it came out, it was panned for being too earnest.
Absolutely.
So even then they were like, meh. Yeah. But it worked. The simplicity works.
The whole, did you guys read the review from H.G. Wells, who was like, it's a silly thing?
Yes, that's right, silly.
It's like his, or Fritz Lang's take on industrialization and mechanization. It's so naive and all that stuff.
Did you see the thing? I can't remember what the currency was. It wasn't Deutschmark at the time. Incidentally, Lang, like Hitler, is Austrian, but anyway, he's a German expressionist filmmaker. I'm just making that very clear. So it wasn't Deutschmarks back in those days, but whatever it was made for, it was made for millions, and it made back only tens of thousands.
It was a big flop.
So interesting, eh? But now, you just check out your Sight and Sound poll best films of all time, Fritz. Don't worry about it.
And I there is, just to talk more about Metropolis, the actress who plays Maria,
she's really good.
She is incredible, and the way that her physicality changes with the machine.
And really good for a silent film actress as well, because I thought the chap playing Freda was appalling.
Oh, he was very silent film.
Yeah, he was like a cliche of silent film, but she had nuance that I was like, wait, people could do that in those days? Which again,
that scene where she is being chased by the floodlight and just trying to escape and not find, oh my god, with the music and everything, like amazing.
And like my students sort of laughed a bit there when we watched it. I was like, Tame, she is doing incredible work. You are getting the story through this, and I still just love watching that movie to see her. Like, you know exactly when she's Maria and when she's the machine.
Yeah.
Like, it's very clear. And her eyebrows and the way she like moves her neck.
Absolutely.
And she's, and it's just beautiful work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do want to say about the comparison of themes between Megalopolis and Metropolis.
Yes.
I mean, not to give Megalopolis too much slack, but the themes in Metropolis, and we just talked about this as well, they're pretty pat. Like, and also, I don't know, from a modern day perspective, and maybe from a 1920s perspective, I just found them to be really problematic.
Which bits? Which?
Metropolis.
No, but what themes?
The whole worker and ruling class thing. It's like, the workers will remain the hand and the ruling class will remain the brain. And it feels very, very like... I know some people have called it, proto-fascist or pre-fascist. It's like, the workers will be this dangerous, mass of chaos unless the Marias of the world or the Fredisons of the world, he has a change of heart.
Yeah.
And a kind capitalist is much better than a cold, distant one. But this is how the world works. If the bottom and the top, they connect via a mediator, not bringing the bottom up in any way, in any sense of the word.
Right.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is quite horrifying. So much so that when Robo Maria starts inciting the workers for all-out riot, I felt a thrill to that. And it's go get them. Destroy these machines. You deserve it. because you've been trod upon your whole lives. Your
then what
children
would
are
they do?
drowning.
But then what would
But
they...
I just felt it to be well. I don't know. They don't know either. I guess
No.
that's what the point. That's the point of the movie. The movie says that this is wrong. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But I at that moment felt this righteous anger. It's like, you show them. You deserve this.
Yeah.
And the movie says, oh no, this is the wrong thing to do, and they should feel bad about doing so. Yeah, I just found the
I guess so,
politics
but
to be
I can't help
really like, oh gosh, from a modern perspective, extremely ugly.
Yeah.
Like, very, very.
I wonder though if this comes out at a time where there is a lot of different ideologies brewing up, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you've got different fascist groups and communist groups kind of building, especially in Berlin, right? There's a real concern, and there's violence in the streets around, particularly communist groups in Berlin. And this comes out of a genre of storytelling, with... I think of Masses and Man as a play that I studied when I was at university, and there's a whole genre in German Expressionism around the people's rights and trying to figure out how we can push beyond the pains of industrialization. So I'm wondering if Fritz Lang is really playing within some really significant tensions, both with, he's coming from a tradition of a genre, he's in a political landscape that is fraught, and he's having to make a populist film for millions of whatever the currency is. I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily. I'm just thinking, what is the context with which this film was made? Like, it was so fraught, and maybe they needed something that was quaint.
But then here's the thing, right? On the other hand, you have these horrifying scenes of capitalism gone awry. The whole Moloch thing with the factory workers being fed into the maw of this horrifying. It's like, oh my, like this film has a point.
Yeah.
And is that this is an evil that cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
Right? It is there. Like, it is not subtext. It is straight up text. And some people, I was just reading, it's a film of two halves, right? You have that stuff, but you also have the mollifying of the workers at the end. And really, it is, you're right, Jimmy, it is trying to say so many things about the rights of man and the rights of the worker, and how the people who are in power can do something about it, whether it be benign or not. Yeah.
What's interesting is that we are talking in earnest about a film from almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's got a very simple message, but it's got complexities of characters in there. And we just can't do that with Megalopolis.
No.
I don't think we can. We struggle to even explain what the plot is.
He was obviously, talking about Coppola's influences, clearly Metropolis is a major one.
Yeah.
And because I had put here that one's called, in one film he's called the Inventor, which is Metropolis, and in the other, isn't he called the Architect?
Yeah.
Or is he not? Is there another film called where there's a protagonist called the Architect?
Well, that's
in
the Matrix.
That's what I
Which,
thought.
by the way, like in terms of Wachowski's, talk about that scene where he goes to get the gun.
Which of course is Lawrence Fishburne.
One of my favorite,
Film.
true. One of my best friends, he talks about the scene where they're trying to find the keymaker. We're trying to find the keymaker. Everyone's trying to find the keymaker. They get to this room, open the door. There's a dude sitting there with a room filled with keys.
Yeah.
And his first line of dialogue is, "I'm the keymaker."
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, Wachowskis, we know.
One final thing I want to say about Metropolis.
What is
and
your
the
final
themes.
thoughts?
Oh.
Jump in. What are your final thoughts?
Okay. Let's do final thoughts. Megalopolis. Again, I was expecting Cats 2.0. Unfortunately, I did not get it.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Fateful Findings? I don't think so. I remember sharing a link once when it was uploaded on YouTube. It's from this writer-director, Neil Breen, who is... he's like Tommy Wiseau if Tommy Wiseau had aspirations of saving the world. And it's very, very, very bad films. But as with a lot of these disaster pieces, it's done from a place of real, genuine understanding and believing that I am doing something important, which is what makes bad movies sing. And so the Fateful Findings is about a guy, Neil Breen is an architect, who he finds the formula that will change the world, and the bureaucracy is trying to stamp him down. It's very, very similar in tone and theme. I think Fateful Findings is a far more interesting film than Megalopolis, unfortunately, because I think there's a lot of good stuff in Megalopolis, just none of it coheres. None of it. So no Cats 2.0, unfortunately. Metropolis was a fascinating film. I was just going to say that it was something that jumped to mind was the use of a robot to pacify the masses. which is exactly what is happening right now with AI and all that stuff. It's like, man, stuff is just cyclical. It's so cool. It's very, very cool. And just the scale of the film, the use of special effects. There's some real Thunderbirds like shots in here with the water, which is obviously a miniature, and the people, the children running around.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is so cool. So cool. As a piece of science fiction, I think it's incredible. I had problems with the themes, but it made me feel like conflict and feel tension within myself. Like, do I agree with this movie or do I not? And you're right, Jeremy. What kind of movie released this year in 2024 has the power to do that? Can't think of a single one. So amazing stuff. Really enjoyed it.
Nice. I do think Civil War could be in that category. It made me definitely think through things. And actually The Substance as well, really, I've kept thinking about that movie as well. I've said everything I want to say about Megalopolis. The one thing I would say is that Francis Ford Coppola, he is one of my favorite directors. Apocalypse Now, as we know, is one of my top films. I love the Godfather series. I love The Conversation. I really love the work of Sofia Coppola. And this is just so indulgent. I do think that there is a real earnestness of purpose that comes through, that I do think it will have a cult following, like you allude to, William, with these kind of great films. Maybe not a righteousness of being correct, but definitely of feeling like they're saying something of importance.
Yeah.
Metropolis, I love that film. It's definitely got things that, are problematic. I believe there's some blackface in the movie. There is also some, like you said, the political themes are problematic. And it's interesting to look at it always from the position of this happened right before one of the biggest tragedies and disasters in our entire history of this earth. And it was made in a place that was the architects of that horror. So there's something really interesting about that. And I'm always really fascinated by that pre-World War II Berlin, which was such an interesting time and space and place of artistry. So I really love it for lots of different reasons, and I have critiques of it for lots of different reasons. But as a pure piece of cinema, it's wonderful to return to. And I love the words you use, Sarah, around sort of getting lost in it, or a trance-like state, or being intoxicated by it. I think that's a great way to talk about it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
You've just made me think of something, that Maria, now not good Maria, bad Maria, if you will, actually is a little bit Hitler-like in terms of her being able to rack up a crowd for worse, but
and remember, there wasn't just Hitler back then. There was lots of different
Mussolini and all sorts.
But even smaller factions,
fascists.
People popping up and having their different ideas.
But people being able to go, hey, you should really, and hey, I mean, it's what we're seeing with Trumpian America and that sort of thing as well, isn't it? Look, the only text that I want to talk about that we haven't yet discussed, and I have to say I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't know this. I'm too honest on these podcasts. I should pretend that I'm the brilliant one. But actually, Little Bird reminded me that David Fincher once made a music video for a little-known pop singer called Madonna. Yeah. And Express Yourself is like, it's all Metropolis. Have you, do you remember the video?
Yeah, totally.
I know that song word for word. I had never seen the video till last night.
Go for second best,
baby, put your love to the test.
You're gonna do
you know you got to. But the thing is, right, she's great in the film. The set is amazing in the film.
Yeah.
It has absolutely bears no relation whatsoever. What she's singing,
and the workers are all like really buff, oiled up men.
Yeah, they are.
Like,
and they're all like in chains and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but the song really bears no relation whatsoever to what's going on. But she looks great in the film. So how the heck Fincher was like, oh, I'll tell you what, I've got this idea. Yeah, there was this film in 1927. That's because that's how Fincher talks.
He does it in colour, right? I mean, he would have done Vogue with her, and he would have carried some favour with her, I imagine.
Well, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is what a film to base your Madonna music video about girl power and like not settling for second best, and you've got to express yourself and all that sort of thing.
Metropolis is also the main focus of the music video for Radio Gaga, right?
Oh.
If you guys have seen it, it's Queen in the foreground and the shots of the movie in the background and interlaced.
That was a whole
Well, I'll
history
tell you
there.
one other pop cultural thing that I was thrilled by, because I'm a bit of a fan of the old Peter Bruegel. And Peter Bruegel, who was, I want to say Flemish. Was he Flemish?
Yeah.
Yeah, Flemish painter from before 1927.
Tower of Babel.
Fabulous Tower of Babel painting. And so actually Lung uses the same Babel, the same tower construct in his film. So I thought that was rather nice.
Excellent.
So, yeah. Would I watch either of the films again? Not in a hurry. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context. You can listen to Cinema in Context on SoundCloud, Spotify, and where all good podcasts can be found. You can also follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, which are great places to let us know what you think of this episode, as well as give us suggestions for future films to discuss and compare. Look out for our next episode in a month's time, and until then,
No ora mai.